I'm now streaming. Would you mind sharing the link? I'll do it too. What did he say? 2 to 3 inches?
A lot of rain.
There's a lot of rain coming this way, starting when? This is Mark Horner. Please stand by. Hi, this is Mark Horner, Beyond90seconds.com, at the roadblock on SR 530 near Oso. This is on the west side of the mudslide, and you see some heavy equipment now going in on a flatbed. Earlier we saw some heavy equipment coming out, now more going back in. So here we are on what amounts to day 3. I was up here streaming on Saturday, then on the Darrington side last evening, and now back here on the quote-unquote Arlington side at the roadblock, which is no longer at Jim Creek Road. It's significantly closer than it was just yesterday. We're back at Oso Loop Road, which is roughly 2.5 to 3 miles just west of the slide. This is the same area where we were staged at a roadblock, the second roadblock that they set up on Saturday. Initially, we were actually even closer than this. So what's going on at this moment? Well, you're looking at a large media presence. This is as close as they can get, theoretically anyway, because we heard of one rogue photog near the slide on the old railroad tracks, spotted from the air. They were going to get him out right away, assuming it was a man. But this is where much of the media is staged, at least one pocket of it here, as media is now coming from different parts of the world. There is AFP represented here, which is sort of a Reuters-type news agency in Europe. They've employed some people from Vancouver, Canada. I've spoken with 2 of them that are down here working on AFP's behalf. There was another gentleman working as a photographer. He told us he was with a German news organization. A moment ago, we were watching from a distance across the street. Here is Jeff Renner, a well-known longtime weatherman at King 5 at the NBC affiliate in Seattle, reported live. You might say breaking news or still ongoing major news story, not necessarily breaking at the moment any longer, but why would the weather guy be up there? Well, there is concern, understandably, about weather because there is rain and supposedly a considerable amount of rain coming this way starting, I believe, tomorrow. So you've had this major mudslide, you have an exposed large hillside, and you've got a recipe for, well, problems. So with a lot of rain coming along the way. This day started with what was a big surprise for a lot of people, and that was a number, 108. 108 people missing since the landslide. Right up until that time, up until just last night, the number for a long time that day had been just yesterday, 18 missing, 4 dead. And then the number 4 was elevated to 8. And then this morning, 108. Well, if you were watching me stream live from Darrington last night, you heard that I was hearing more than whispers, but some direct conversation and some information gathered on the internet that really amounted to some mounting frustration on locals who darn well knew that there were more than 18 people missing, a lot more, because one person, for example, I had contact with knew that there were at least 20 people that person knew directly that were missing. And I was hearing that don't be surprised, Mark, if this number goes above 50, if it goes above 75. So when reporting from Darrington, I really wanted to help convey what the mood is, so to speak. And I can't say I understand the entire mood of Darrington, and I don't know that it's quite so singular, in fact. But certainly I was getting a slice of mood which said a whole lot of more people are missing than what they're saying up until that point. We have a helicopter passing overhead. I'm going to pan over to it. We've been watching helicopters mainly with the Sheriff's Department going back and forth here today. There was an unexpected moment all of about 45 minutes ago. I had been streaming for over 40 minutes, and I quit streaming, took the iPhone, which I used to stream, its camera, off my tripod. And lo and behold, I zoomed in with my primary camera, which is a Canon 7D DSLR camera. I shoot video and stills with it, and I was taking stills of this unmarked vehicle that arrived coming up to this roadblock. It was coming from the east, so as if it had been in the direction of the mudslide. It stopped, and as I'm snapping pictures, I realized that the person that I'm focusing on with the salt and pepper graying hair is none other than Governor Jay Inslee. Governor Inslee got out. He came to the roadblock. He was spending time talking to troopers. He pinned a button on one young trooper, shook that young man's hand, and there was no other camera nearby, despite the fact that this media presence is right over here with local and some now international reporters. The governor appeared as if as he was wrapping up with the young trooper, ready to walk away and get in his car, and I merely approached and said, while streaming live, may I speak with you and ask you a few questions? And he graciously agreed to do so. And he stepped up, and I streamed live my brief interview with the governor, asked him about where he sees things today, kind of overall, and he talked very much that this is still a rescue effort. It is not strictly a recovery effort, but they're out there looking for people who might still be alive. He said that was really the underscoring point of what he had to say. Then I followed up, and I don't know exactly how I put the question, but as I recall, the essence of that question was the numbers of missing, the numbers of deceased skyrocketed this morning. How could you help us understand how it went from such conservative numbers in the grand scheme of things now to such a much larger number? And the governor, I can't quote him directly, but the essence of his question was that my question would perhaps be best asked to some of the other agencies associated with the response here, the official agencies. So then the governor was very gracious, shook my hand, and he left. But that was an unexpected moment to see the governor. And where do I come down on this? Why didn't the other media come over? Why was the only other person that showed up when the governor, and as I approached him and started asking questions, why was the only other person a photographer from AFP, a European news organization? I don't know. Maybe the other media were strictly too busy working against deadline in their satellite trucks and news cars and sitting on their tailbacks, hatchbacks or whatever, with their backs to the moment. But I was only about 60 feet away. And maybe they figure maybe their crew's already got the governor. But for me, I don't care how many times I've seen the governor. Yes, excuse me. No, you can't. It's up the road I'm told about maybe 2.5, 3 miles. Okay? Sorry, some folks are showing up and asking me if they can see the slide from here. But just so you know how I work, as a reporter for 20 years, every time you have an opportunity to see someone such as the governor, anybody in an elected position such as that, and they're visiting this area, every moment might bring new information. He's just come from the location of the slide. And on top of that, it's an opportunity not just to show him handshaking, it's also an opportunity to ask questions. And that's why I wanted to get some questions on the record. And it was very gracious of him, once again, to agree to do that interview, right looking towards this camera, this iPhone 4S. So hooray for modern technology when it can lead to moments such as that one. All right, so that is the moment that we have here. That's the encapsulation, the summary, if you will, of what's been going on since I've been here the past 2.5 hours or so. I'm going to creep a little closer to the roadblock. We have several police motorcycles here. Usually I associate motorcades with public officials. I don't know if that's something that's going to be happening here or not, but I just thought I'd get a closer look so you can see. Once again, this is the roadblock at SR 530 and Oso Loop Road. Later on my blog, I will take those live videos that I did earlier and I will put them on a post for today on the blog, beyond90seconds.com. That should include the interview with the governor that I streamed live. I attempted to say one-on-one, but there was that other camera, that one other camera that came from across the street, recognized the governor. I spoke with the photographer, very delightful man named Tim with AFP. He's down here from Vancouver, Canada. He said he recognized the governor and was more than happy to jump in on that moment, that opportunity. But that was it. No other media approached the governor at that time. So I don't know why we have at least 1, 2, 3, 4, if not 5 motorcycles here. Usually that's something I would associate with escorting a public official, oftentimes a politician, but we'll stand by. And while we stand by, I'll just pan over to the media area. Again, King 5's local Seattle NBC affiliate, their weather person, Jeff Renner, is up here. He was going on about, in his live report, about the weather. The fact is that there is rain coming this way. I believe he said it's going to start tomorrow, and we're talking inches, which is not uncommon here, but that would be obviously some concern. You know, I'm looking across the street, and if I put him center screen, there's a gentleman center screen on the phone to the right of that last white vehicle. That white vehicle says CBC Vancouver lives here. That's what it says on the back window, so the CBC out of Vancouver is here. You know, I'm speaking of the gentleman, Tim, the photographer with AFP. He was, I was discussing the numbers, the 108 in particular with him, and he said, you know, if it wasn't for the 108, he wouldn't have been here. And I said, yeah, and if you had heard anything near that number yesterday, you would have been here earlier, to which he fully agreed. I'm going to check my other phone here so I can check Twitter and see if any of you are asking questions. Becky May and Snohomish County Scanner retweeted the live link. Thank you very much. Tony Thomas, I've seen you on Twitter. Thank you very much for following. I really appreciate it. Triple Tall, I really appreciate your retweeting, as you so often do. And I got a chuckle out of this one. William Allen Photo tweets, nice to see the rig and the man. That's because a photo appeared on Twitter this afternoon of me with the governor as I was doing that interview. The motorcycle guys are mounting the bikes now, so it appears they're leaving. So we're going to swing over. These are sheriff's deputies, I presume. It would make sense that they're with Snohomish County, but there has been a lot of support from surrounding agencies to include King County in this area.
Yeah, all the electronics. Yeah. Clearly use the lobby because you go ahead. They're saying that.
Sorry. Okay, folks, I'm getting some new information. I'm going to step away for a moment, and then I'll be right back. Just a second. Just a second.
We'll move this away from the road.
All right, I'm going to have some new information shortly, and I'll be right back. Step away from the camera. We'll keep the stream going.
Sounds like Snohomish Co is doing what's going around.
All right, I want to make sure I don't cut myself off here. Hey, Darren, would you just take a peek here and make sure that I'm not cutting my head off here with the framing? If so, then I'll. Am I? I'm okay? Go back. Well, I wanted them to hear me, so what I'm going to do is I have to be close enough to hear because I don't have a wireless mic. Let's see if that helps. How's that?
Yeah, you're good now.
Okay. Snowhawk 110, 1 and 10? Okay. And Guardian 2. Okay. 3 helicopters, Snowhawk 1, Snowhawk 10, and Guardian 2. We know we've had at least 3 helicopters in this area today. I'm hearing through scanner traffic, quite frankly, by a guy who's an expert at monitoring the scanner traffic at @snowco_scanning. That he's just heard that at least two of the helicopters are now leaving the area, and 1 is remaining at this moment. But here's something you may not have heard yet. We're hearing, and this is not officially confirmed, but we're quite frankly hearing it through the local scanner traffic, that they now have dogs on scene, cadaver dogs. And it was overheard that one person said, if you have more, we could use them. I think that speaks for itself. Cadaver dogs. In case you have any questions, I've actually done several stories on cadaver dogs, not in this area, but while working as a reporter for 10 years in New Mexico. Cadaver dogs are especially trained to find the scent of human flesh, human remains. Some people mistakenly think that they might cadaver dogs could come across a dead elk, a dead deer. Certainly there would be, in all likelihood, other things that have perished besides people in such a slide of that magnitude. But these dogs are especially trained. I mean, trained. They go through exercises in their training where other types of scents from animals are put out, and they are trained not to alert. And that is the operative word, alert. These dogs are trained to alert on human remains. So we now are hearing, not through official channels, but we are hearing here on the ground at the Oso area, just down the road from the slide itself, that cadaver dogs are now being deployed, and they're on the ground, and it seems like they could use even more than what they have out there right now. So that's the latest information that I have. Earlier, we talked about several other things. We talked about the weather. Rain is on the way. That's why Jeff Renner with King 5 is up here to talk about the weather. The wind, I'm sure this is poor audio right now. You may have a hard time hearing me because I don't have a separate mic, but I am simply using the iPhone's microphone. But yes, the wind has picked up. There's a definite breeze in this area. The camera at times is shaking. So we talked about the weather. Governor Jay Inslee, out of the blue, absolutely unexpected, arrived coming toward the west where we're located. So he came from the east, from the slide area. He arrived at this roadblock. He shook hands with a trooper. We put a pin on a young trooper's vest or shirt. And then I approached him, and he agreed to do a brief interview with me. Way back in the day, I was an anchor when I first started my television career and reporter at KIMA TV back in 1989 and 1990. Jay Inslee was a young local lawmaker in Selah, Washington at that time, and I had occasion to interview him several times at that time, and he was an avid, and still is, an avid basketball player, and we used to play basketball at the YMCA in Yakima. So I hadn't seen him since. It was an interesting moment, to say the least, but one I'm very thankful for. It was gracious of him to speak with me and answer my questions. I'm going to get back behind the camera now because I'm going to be quite frank with you. In the interest of transparency, I get a runny nose up here. I'm not exactly certain why. Perhaps because it's cold, and you've heard me sniffing for 3 days now, and I do apologize for that. But I think this is a better feed if you don't see me sniffing and wiping. You don't get that in your local mainstream media, but that's the flavor of the day. That's what's going on at the moment. All right, so what else can we tell you about? The national media is here. We know that there are some international media organizations being represented here, and there are some Seattle, certainly, media here. We know that they're not only here, but there are reporters gathered at the opposite end of this section that is closed, the Darrington area roadblock. That's outside of Darrington as you travel west towards Arlington. And overall, though, one thing that first struck me, being that this is day 3 for me up here, the thing that first struck me was at the moment when I got out of the car, probably 2 hours ago now, that it's warmer. In fact, you look across the street, I see a guy in a T-shirt. You didn't see that on Saturday. But then again, you didn't see many media here on Saturday or Sunday either, not compared to what we're seeing today. I want to thank Bill Gillum on Twitter. He was tweeting pictures from Arlington earlier today. It was he who was making the first references to the large increase in the media presence in this area. And to what do we attribute the large media presence on day 3? Is it the fact that it's a Monday? Absolutely not. I can narrow it down to 3 digits and one number: 108. That number, that is what has attracted so many more news agencies here. It's the devastation that has unfolded here now. Not just the landslide itself, not just those earlier reports of 18 missing, 4 dead, 18 missing, 8 deceased, but 108 missing. That gets the national media and international media moving, where they no longer want to rely on video from their affiliates. They want to establish a presence. They want to put their name on what is now very much a major story, not just in Washington State, not just in the Pacific Northwest, but really, truly, on an international scale. We've been watching a lot of large vehicles, some with heavy equipment, coming and going. And there's a lot of earth, of course, over the highway. And there's a lot to go through in the days ahead, the weeks ahead. That is what I have at the moment, folks. I thank you very much for watching this live stream from SR 530 and Oso Loop Road in Snohomish County, a short distance from the Oso Mudslide. I really do appreciate you tuning in. This is kind of a new arena for me. I've only recently started doing this with the iPhone and doing this live streaming. Wish I could bring you high quality stuff in terms of the resolution of the feed, but this is better than nothing, and I think it's the information more than anything right now that is hopefully proving useful to people who need it and who have concerns either directly or indirectly related to this area. My name's Mark Horner. Thank you for watching. Have a great evening.